Hi folks. So I did a video, my last video upload was titled, I think it's called Written in the Stars, and it wasn't actually about astrology, which I will actually perhaps get into in this talk. I had a reading done for myself about 2 weeks ago, and I'm just still digesting and thinking over what was discussed, what was brought up, what came up for me, and about the experience. I don't know much about astrology, I must say, but I think it's definitely underrated. That's for sure. Anyway, so in the video that I did titled "Written in the Stars," I started off with a story about myself trying to introduce myself to a woman that I saw walking by the beach, by the promenade, who I thought I might, resonate with, or whatever it was. The energy was different to others, it stuck out, and so it caught my attention. But I mentioned how I never got an opportunity to really introduce myself or talk to her, and and then I mentioned how frustrated I was because she just sort of slipped away, she walked away, and there was nothing I could really do about it. But I had a feeling, folks, I really had a feeling that I was going to bump into her again. And so I walked up the road and I looked around where the restaurants are, where the shopping center is, and I thought, well, maybe by chance I'm going to bump into her, but the chance were very unlikely, because the truth is that it's a very heavily populated area, the sort of beachfront. I mean, there's a lot of hotels, there's a lot of apartment buildings, there's a lot of people. And so, it's quite a large area. There's very, very small chance of me bumping into it. But I tried and looked around, and about half an hour or so, whatever it was, and I kind of gave up and I threw in the towel. I was like, okay, that's it. It obviously wasn't meant to be, but I still felt like I was going to bump into her. Anyways, I really forgot about the story, the situation, and then I was busy. My friend Tabo, who I've spoken about before, came down from Johannesburg to visit me here in Durban. And we decided to go down to a restaurant the day after this experience, and just to have a bite to eat. And what happened was we ordered the food, and I'm busy talking to him. And not only that, folks, but what was interesting was where I sat at the table, I was facing, let's say, north. And then I decided, no, there's too much traffic. I just don't want to see the traffic. I don't know. I get very fussy when I'm in a restaurant. I don't like to be sitting where there's in front of a TV. That's my worst, or something like that. I really am particular about the space in a restaurant where I sit, and the different energy vibes I can feel, where I just feel most comfortable. Anyway, so I changed, let's say, from looking, what did I say, north, and then I changed to the opposite side of the table, where I was just facing into because we're sitting outside the restaurant. That's the thing. It was a table outside. Anyways, we sat down. I'm busy talking to Tabo, and in the distance, right, there's lots of people walking past, and far off in the distance, I see this woman, and I see it's her, and I can't believe it. I think to myself, like, I take another check, and I said, is this? And it was her. And I said to Tabo, hold on a minute, I'm going to go catch her, no matter what. I'm going to go introduce myself, I'm going to find the opening. Anyway, she was walking at such a rapid rate that I had to really push it in order to catch up with her. She was walking down a steep hill, going back to the promenade, back to the beach. And I had to really, really push it, and that's what I did. But I don't want to make it so obvious, And anyway, I got up to her and started casually walking next to her, and I said, "I saw you yesterday. You're walking on the beach," and she looked quite perplexed and whatever, was taken aback. And that's when I realized, even yesterday, how she didn't really put out an energy vibe of an invitation to introduce people. She wasn't interested. I could see that. And even when I was talking to her, she didn't stop or slow down. She just carried on walking, which I felt annoyed about, but that wasn't what was important. I wanted to just introduce myself. I wanted to see what she was about. It turns out that she was a foreigner. She's only here for about a week. And, that's probably also why she stuck out quite a bit, because she's a foreigner, and there's not many foreigners, not many people from other countries, the side. So that made her different, I suppose, from that point of view. Maybe other things, but I was trying to speak to her and get a conversation going, but she just wasn't interested. She wasn't friendly. She wasn't curious. She just wanted to do her thing, and so I was walking with her quite a bit, and she was walking at such a rapid pace. And then after about, I would say, 2 minutes, I realized this is not for me, and I actually feel like I'm belittling myself. You're trying to make an effort, and she's not anything who I thought she would be, in a sense. Like, I got the energy right of her being a foreigner and somebody who's more curious and whatever it was, about the environment. And I read her energy completely well, that she was completely closed. Anyway, so about after a 2-minute walk, I just said, I'm turning in here. I'm going to go visit a friend at this apartment. And she said, all right, fine, whatever it was. And that was it. She was cold as ice, folks. Cold. Anyway, I came back to the table where I left Tabo. The food had arrived. And I sat down and I said, I'm just so happy. He's like, because I said to him, it didn't go well at all, which I didn't really care about. To a certain degree. I mean, it probably, it's very rare that for myself, and I'm sure for many of you out there, that you come across people that you can sincerely connect with and go the distance with, and whatever it is. And again, I'm not talking about romantically, but it can be romantically. It could just be as friends or whatever it is. Kindred spirits, something like that. It's very, very rare. It seriously is, folks. I mean, you can even meet people online, and you connect, and you'll email exchange and whatever it is, and some people it very seldomly works out. Okay, so but what I was so happy about with it, the situation, was that I bumped into her again, and I had a feeling, and that the universe brought her into my world in order just to say, hey, we kind of see what's going on with you. We see what you're trying. You wanted to meet her. You wanted to see what it's about. Your curiosity, is getting the better of you. So whatever, that and much more. But I was just so glad that, a plan was made. That for me, I'd like to think, and how I arranged myself at the table at the restaurant, and how it all planned out. How literally she was just in my vision for about 15 seconds, and I managed to see her. And that's what it was about. It was divine timing again. It was just divine timing, and I really felt special about it. I really felt it, because for the last few weeks I've really been having a hard time. There's been a lot of things that haven't necessarily been going right. As I mentioned in the video before, my house got broken into in the middle of the night. It could have been very, very serious, could have been very bad, but it was okay. A lot of things were stolen, right? Cameras, cell phones, just a lot of inconvenient stuff, and we're still trying to put the pieces back together again. There's been that. There's just been other things, that have just really not been going right, and it's hard. It's been difficult, and so sometimes you feel like it's just blind luck. Sometimes you're born under a lucky star or something like that. You feel victimized by it, but so for myself, seeing this woman again, if I was a betting man, I'd say the chances of bumping into her again was maybe 2%, if that. It's 2%. I mean, it was just so random. It's really not possible. Even when I spoke to Tabo, I said, if you went here, when I told you the story, you probably wouldn't believe me. Although he probably would, because these things happen to me so often. The most peculiar of circumstances happen to me. Whenever I see Tabo, I see him every few weeks, I've got stories for him. I'll tell him the most outrageous stories, and you would think I was making them up, but I'm not. That's how they go. Anyway, so for myself, that was the sort of the message. It was like, by bumping into this woman again and seeing again how it's organized. And this is sort of the follow-up on the talk that my last talk about Written in the Stars, again, about how we don't realize how much of our lives are part of some kind of plan and some kind of destiny. I mean, really, folks, so much so. We have no idea the doors that close for us and the ones that open for us. We can't conceptualize because we need more of a cosmic point of view. This is what I'm trying to get at, as a cosmic point of view on all of this, right? We don't live with a cosmic point of view. We live with a very finite point of view, a very materialistic point of view, a very empty point of view, a very dull and scientific point of view, a very materialistic point of view. Most of the time we're just looking through the eyes of the ego, in a way, and we're looking through the eyes of limitation, and we're looking at the eyes of scarcity, and we're looking at through the eyes of victimization, right? and we're looking at through the eyes of, woe is me, is almost like this is just by random chance. The life that I was born into, the parents that I was born into, the upbringing that I had, the traumas that I experienced, whatever it is, right? And whatever it is. And so the day by day, like, I see so much of the energy and life has been sucked off this planet. I very seldomly see people that are like have got a sparkle in their eye. I really feel that way. I mentioned I did a talk the other day about colon cleansing and how I did a colon cleanse and how I just felt so renewed. And I took my friend Tabo for a colon cleanse the first time ever. And when he walked out, I could see the twinkle in his eye. After the procedure, when he walked out, I could see the twinkle in his eye. But then eventually, all the heaviness, all the mind chatter, all the personality, whatever you want to call it, all the drama of this world, etc., just came back again straight away to him. All the whatever it is, and so he lost that sense of not just inspiration but connectedness, that wholesomeness, that liveliness, that connected to source. And the source is within oneself, within yourself, within myself. It's the imagination, it's the heart space, it's the limit, it's the boundlessness, it's the opportunity, it's the potential, it's the dreamer, right? It is the cosmic point of view, the cosmic perspective, and that's what we've lost touch in. And I did another talk which I'm still going to upload about meditating by going into one's past, right, and literally walking through your house when you were a child, right, and go through the experiences. Go through the house and see the different colored rooms, see the carpet. Remember how the sun used to come through your bedroom window at 4:30 in the afternoon, right? Remember your curtains. Go into the fine detail, and go into the fine detail of your brothers and your sisters and your parents or whoever it is, and go into the unique divine experience that you had, no matter how, because it was divine. I'm saying it, and my point of that was almost reconnecting with not just your narrative, but your experience and who you were underneath all of that originally, which I was saying. It's again getting in touch, a reconnectedness, right? Because I'm going to upload this video after this one, but what I was getting to in further detail about this is that the imagination, the curiosity, the humor, the silliness, to a certain degree, all of these, the innocence in a way, whatever it might be of the child, to recapture that by going back into time, by seeing who you are now, right? And going back into time and realizing how difficult the circumstances that you were met with. Okay? I even go further about saying, imagine yourself to be your own parents while raising you, and how you would have raised you, knowing who you are and what you are about today. So you're playing two roles in your imagination. You can play all your family roles in your imagination, but go back and see the love that you didn't get, that you could have got. See the unconditional support, unconditional love and support and guidance, and relationship and presence. See, and see what you didn't get, and see how that feels. Put the pieces again back together. See how it feels. See the conditions that you went through that were probably not, the compromisations that you went through. See how you were wounded and how you carry that wound, but see who you could be without that wound. You see, it's very tricky, this. I don't quite have the best ways to explain it, and but to see beyond all the layers of conditioning and dogma and family ties and your personality of who you are according to in your father's eyes or your mother's eyes or your brother's eyes or something like that, and where you get rank in the family, the firstborn, the lastborn, the eldest, the youngest, whatever it might be, and because this is the analogy that I was thinking. It's like, imagine that you went to the Great Barrier Reef, right, to snorkel. And I'm just saying now, in this time, you went to, I think it's in Australia, and you went to the Great Barrier Reef. I think that's where it is. And you snorkel and you had that experience. And now you come back to shore, right? You don't just leave that experience behind you. It's changed you in certain ways. The things that you see, I mean, it can be many experiences, but I'm just using this because snorkeling is so beautiful. It's just so amazing. It's there's so much exploration going on. There's so much discovery going on. It's a whole different oceanic world and type of experience that you're involved in, you know. And so come back to shore and sit with that and put the pieces together. What did you see? How did the water feel? Right? Did the taste of the water, the sunlight coming through, the way that the seaweed would move with every ocean, you know, with the wave of the motion of the seaweed from the water, the currents or something like that, all the different fish, just the feeling of floating, whatever it is. Feel that, you know, get in touch with that. Don't just leave it when you hit the shore, when you get back to the shore, you know, the sand, and just forgotten about. I'm saying our whole history, our whole narrative is so rich with circumstance, significance, particulars, and deep, deep meaning that again we've definitely lost touch with within the world that we live in. Anyways, let's see. I'm recording this on my cell phone as a new type of effort. And so yeah, folks, that's kind of what I talk about. I also wanted to maybe do another talk on astrology and what this reading with my friend Richard. I forgot his surname. He's actually a South African guy as well, and we spoke for about 2 hours. And I gave him my birthday. I gave him the time of day that I was born, and we just went really into it. It was just amazing. You know, he picked up the relationship with my mother. He picked up my mother that I have with my mother. He picked up my mother's health. He picked up about my childhood. He picked up about my year of transformation. You know, my sort of existential crises, and I'm saying my big transformational year in 2008. He picked up incredible amounts of information. Incredible. And he was explaining to me because I was born just before the certain size of the moon, and where I was born and the location that I was born, and we went into so much detail. And it's absolutely frightening to see how accurate it was, how it is so accurate. It's really, and then part of what Sir Richard says, that one of the great things about astrology is that it shows you that there's so much part of a bigger plan. You are so much part of a bigger plan that you could ever anticipate or imagine it to be, right? That we are so interconnected that we have so little, very much, idea of it. And that's why it's so important in the world today, because there's so much tragedy and drama going on, right? Even in our own personal lives. Like I said, for myself, when I got broken into, my house got broken into, but in truth, it's really knocked me in so many ways, but it's made me so much stronger in so many other ways. I was so naive before. I took so much for granted, like the things that I had, my cell phones and my camera and just my conveniences of things and whatever. And it took, I realized my safety. I took my safety for granted. I took so much for granted. And so it's taught me so much. I mean, I'll maybe do another talk on that, but it was a very, very unfortunate incident. Like I said, I could have been held up. I could have been, but with guns. Could have been, with my hands tied behind my back. Could have been beaten. I mean, the other day I read such an unfortunate story in the newspaper about how an elderly woman, I think she was 78 years old. She was found in her one-bedroom apartment, strangled, with her hands tied behind her back. Strangled! A 78-year-old woman, strangled. Oh. And so we live in these really ruthless and cruel times, and we've come from ruthless and cruel times and situations and setups and particulars. And so again, we're always striving for the meaning, we're always striving for the cosmic perspective of it all, so that we can just feel that it's worth the bloody fight. It's worth continuing. It's not worth throwing in the towel, no matter how much the odds are against us a lot of the time, no matter how compromising this world is in, is that we never give up on spirit. We never give up on ourselves and this venture and where we are going and who we've become, right? We don't try our bloody best to not throw in the towel. All right, folks. Well, hope that makes a bit of sense. We'll chat soon then. Take care.